WSLR, LPFM 96.5 in Sarasota. Always great to welcome our next guest back with us. He was with us right after Christmas, and always good to have him, the former CBS and the Detroit News White House correspondent, Gary Schuster, in with us today. How are you, Gary?
Good morning, Douglas. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, happy New Year, 2 weeks late.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
We had you on the day after Christmas, and we didn't get a chance to wish you a Happy New Year officially. But
well, thanks. So far, so good, you know.
Good year so far for you?
A couple weeks into it, still here kicking. Good. It's good.
I guess, Congress is back in session. That's always kind of interesting.
Congress is back. Right, exactly. We're unsafe again.
That's right. Was that kind of a fun first week to cover back up there when Congress went back in?
Yeah.
Does everything happen?
Not much.
Yeah.
It's more formality. It's committee assignments. It's who's got what office where.
Yeah.
It's more housekeeping than it is.
Not as much legislation.
Than it is legislation.
Right?
Yeah.
When do they kick that in again?
As a rule, that sort of follows the State of the Union speech.
So they wait a couple of weeks before.
They wait if there's something pressing. You know, if there's, we've got continuing resolutions for the budget, other things. Those might take precedent to that, but otherwise, it usually happens right around the State of the Union address. Which is
like 25th, 26th, something like that this month?
Yeah, early February. So I forget what it is.
So you've covered your share of those.
Yeah.
Fun to cover, or you already know the speech ahead of time?
Well,
people reading it in the audience.
Yeah, you get a copy of the speech, but it's sort of fun to... the press gallery, the speech is always given in the House of Representatives, and so the press gallery is right above the Speaker's chair, right above the podium.
You're looking
looking over and down and out at you're looking face on to the Supreme Court justices, the members of Congress, the dance, you know. And so
are you out there? It's like a ball game. I mean, you can have your computer or typewriter at that point.
Well,
are you covering it that way? Or?
Yeah, I was covering with notes, and I was covering with the speech the way I would do it. I would make side notes on the speech, keep track of applause lines.
Right.
And then once in a while we'd get somebody, whoever it might be, from the Senate, from the House, to respond to the speech. You know, the other side, if it was the Democrats, the Republicans.
Before they now do it on TV every year, but before that you had to go to the person, right? And
you had to go to the person. The person would come out to the press gallery.
Oh, they would.
And they'd hold a little press conference up there, and we'd all gather around and take notes on what they said about what the speech was, or what they thought the chances were of such and such passing, or whatever.
Usually nothing.
And so usually not much. But it was good, and it was it was a long night because it wouldn't go on the air usually till 8 or 8.
Used to be 9,
something like that. Yeah. And so by the time you finished interviewing, writing, going back to the paper or the office. You weren't home till 2 in the morning, probably. You know, by the time you finished doing all that stuff.
You had to get it in for the next day.
Yeah. They'd hold a slug for you. They'd hold a spot for you in the paper for 20 inches or 22 inches a copy, and it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier doing it for television, you know, because you're immediate. You're right on. Or radio, you were right on. The paper takes a while.
Now, what would you, for, say, television or radio, you'd have to put something together pretty quick then, right? Within a half an hour after it's done? Or you went on right away, didn't you?
Well, you go on live. I'd go on live from the White House lawn. I'd watch it at the White House instead of watching it up there, and I'd go on live with the White House in the background for the shot on, whatever Reagan or Carter or whoever was said. But so it was a lot easier, a lot more spontaneous. And you didn't have the benefit of having somebody there commenting on it, but that really wasn't my job to do. It was the people up there covering it on the Hill. Mine was sort of a White House view of it, or what was going to happen based on what the president had just said. So it was a little different, but just a little different angle. But it was a lot easier to do because you were right there. You had all the equipment there, and it was immediate. It was there.
Now you had to ad-lib most of that, right?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, you knew the speech. You'd watch the speech, and so you knew you'd maybe take a couple of notes or something, refer to those or something. But it was a lot less cumbersome.
Yeah. I know they always keep track of how many times standing ovations and applause and all that.
To the point where now it's done. It's done just for those numbers sometimes.
Overdone.
Right. The Democrats want to have more stand-ups than the Republicans do.
They stand up every time now.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Whatever side you're on, you stand up for the side you believe in.
Yeah. So it's become much more.
It's not spontaneous. It's orchestrated.
It's orchestrated.
Yeah.
It's orchestrated.
Takes the fun out of it.
But it's sort of fun to see the ambassadors. There's a section on the floor of the House for the ambassadors from the other countries and Supreme Court justices. And, as always, they take one cabinet official and they don't go.
I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
They don't go because if something
just in
happened...
case nuclear war happens, you have one person.
If something happened, they would have at least one member of the cabinet out, and
I saw that on the West Wing. That's where I learned about that.
Yeah. But they do that. And
where do they put them? In a separate room?
Well, no, they're not there.
They keep them
They're
isolated
not there.
somewhere.
They're over at their office at wherever the agency is, or someplace. There are other places they go, but there's a place in the White House underground that's sort of a bunker that they can go there. I mean, there's a lot of places around town that they can stash these guys.
Is that an honor to get that?
It's rotated.
Is it rotated?
It's rotated.
I wonder how they chose that.
Yeah, it's rotated. Yeah, it was rotated. The guy who I ended up working for at Union Pacific had been Reagan's transportation secretary, Drew Lewis.
Oh yeah.
And Drew one year was it, and I think it's either the first or second year he was there, and it was just sort of a choice. They decided that they wanted somebody who he had been. Assistant chairman or deputy chairman of the Republican Party, and I think they wanted him because you don't want the Secretary of State's sort of the third in line or fourth in line after the Speaker and so so they don't. So you go down the line a little bit, and because you want some of those people there.
Yeah.
But so it was an interesting experience for the State of the Union and the start of Congress. It was always sort of lively. And a lot of new faces and new people, and so it was good to see.
Sense of optimism. The new party coming in.
Sure, that's right.
Be interesting to see how much can get done now with split branches, right?
Yep. Now you got them split, and you got the president with the veto power. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.